It's good practice for later, when we do the real deal with the Swipsy people.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
It's good practice for oh, later. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna close it. So it looks
Okay.
like we're live. So, hello, anybody watching this lovely live stream. We're doing an update to the Sunday session, but today I have my good friend Tanya with me. She
Hi.
has been studying this stuff for what, a year now?
A
Not
little
even.
over a year.
And she's probably one of the most knowledgeable people out there, to be honest. I know she won't admit to it, but it's true.
No, that's just not true.
But happy to have her here. We're going to talk about a incoming solar storm CME, whatever you want to call it. I guess the solar storm is more like the layman's term, I guess, that they're trying to use. But from an M1.9 flare and then a M5, but the M5 one is the low percentage one. So we'll mostly talk about this M1.9. Sweet. So did you want to start off?
Um, I don't think I have the images for the M 1.9. So if you want to pull up
Okay.
the Solar Demon and
Yeah, I have let me see. Okay, I'll share because I should have the Solar Demon up right now, actually. So I'm going to share my screen and then go to the interwebs. Okay, there we go. All right. That's the scoreboard. The one thing I never get used to with Zoom is when all the tools are up top and then you can't see where you can't click on the tabs.
yeah.
All right. So this, now is it, now let me, is this the right one? I think, is this the one with the poof?
What's the timing on this one? Yeah, that's the one. That's
Yeah,
one.
I figured it was
The
because
second.
you can see right there, you can see, I'll let it play a couple times, but there's this like little poof and it's pretty well center location. So this is the kind of the one that we're talking about. And you see how it was deflected out kind of in the middle where we want
Mhm.
it to be. So but it's funny because it's just an M1.9, but hey, this is the best thing we've had in a long time. Most of it's been out on the limb or wherever. We just don't see it.
Or the
Um,
far side, and we just see the
yeah.
halo.
Yeah, we see the halo, but it's going the other way. It's like, bye. So that's the one that should be headed here. I think I have the Enlo model from Swipsy up right now. It's showing they're
Arrival.
saying 21st.
Yeah, I actually have it in Lasco as well,
Okay.
so I can share my screen.
Yeah, bring up that and then we'll talk about the models.
Mhm.
Let's see if I have to quit or stop share first. Okay.
Probably
All right,
not.
there you
Okay,
go.
so this is Lasco, so that's C2 chronograph, and it's looking at the sun and it's closing off the sun because it's too bright, and you kind of see the outline of the CME around it. It is clearly deflected on the top, which is north, and it's mostly going um, toward east and kind of south, but there is a little bit of material coming to the west. That's why we sort of hope it's going to come our way. It wasn't all deflected to the east of the central line.
Mhm.
But if we propagate this a little bit, so if we advance the images, you could see that it becomes pretty much a partial halo.
Right.
And that's exactly what we want. It's very faint, so it's good to have side-by-side images. This is what it looks like without the differential. So all the subtractions have been done to really see what the change is. It is very, very, very faint. So
Yeah, you can't even really see it in there at
you
all.
sort of see the outline of it right here, but this is not going to be anything major in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely coming, but there's just not a whole lot of material that's coming, at least to the sides of it. We don't know what's happening here, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
So we don't have that information. At stereo A, I haven't even looked at that imaging, but I don't think it's going to be major just because there's nothing being spread to the side. So
Right.
It's
Yeah.
wide, it's coming. That's the best we can do. Based on
Yeah.
this, at least based on this. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay. So now we'll go back to the modeling. We'll talk about that. So I'll bring up the Enlo model. This one is Swipsy's version or NOAA, I guess. But you can see here it's interesting because of the double little hump here. But it looks like the bulk of it, they're saying the 21st. And so what is that? How do we convert? What are we, 4 hours behind or five from Universal right now?
Yeah, but remember this
Mhm.
model has about 7 hour margin of error on both
Yeah,
sides. So it's plus minus 7 hours. And well, it could be 21st, but I would say probably the night of
the 20th.
20th into 21st, because it's right now based on this, it's early, but it could come early, it could come late. It
Yep.
kind of comes on its own time when we say, oh, it's a late arriving CME. CME actually came when it could. It just the models were favoring an arrival, earlier arrival than it actually happened. So it's actually the model's fault, not the CME fault that it came late.
Yes. So basically we're looking at the night of the 20th or the
Yeah.
day of the 20th. I mean, lately we've been getting these daytime hits, so
Might as well take a daytime hit, but they modeled the two humps are there because of the two CMEs. So there was a preceding CME from one M1.6 flare, then the 1.9 flare came,
right. Okay,
and
yeah.
that's why you see two fronts coming.
Yep.
Chances are because they happen very close to each other, they're going to merge. That makes the impact more significant. At least that's the chance. How it's going to play out, nobody knows for sure. There are really no good models for CME to CME interaction.
Right.
But it's possible that one is coming, the second one on the top of it, and something's going to happen in transit, and they may merge. We've seen it with May 10-11 storm. Um, that kind of creates a perfect opportunity for this to happen again.
Right. And then so I guess we'll just wait and see. So you have the I can give it back to you if you want to talk about the Huxt model because that's been
I can talk about Hox model, and I can talk about the M2M model, which is
okay.
NASA analysis. So let me share my screen on this
Let's
one.
do that because it's fun to compare these because they're
Yeah,
all similar, but they all use the I think it's the solar wind input or something like that. I forget that, but they all use it slightly differently based on who their main stakeholders are.
correct. And M2M office is doing CME analysis, not just for Earth, but for all the missions. And they've been doing some for missions that are on the far side. So that's the Parker probe and the solar orbiter. Uh,
Okay, yep.
Parker probe is actually sitting on our side now, which is why you see it in models. But when you go to, well, let's start from the basics. This is Donkey, which is the database of notifications, knowledge, and information. All the events are cataloged here. So that would be flares, CMEs, and CME analysis that's been done by M2M office. That's Moon to Mars office. I think energetic particles events are here, and actually shocks. So everything is there. If you ever want to look at what's been modeled and what's been detected, that's the place to be. No fancy graphics, but lots of information. So
Yeah.
if we look for events of the last couple of days, this is what we find. So it's all the solar flares that have been detected. If there is a CME with the flare, you're going to find it as directly linked event. So what we're interested in is those two flares, which actually got modeled as analyzed as one event. And this is where you land when you click on it. It will have preliminary modeling, so preliminary analysis, and it often will have important notes. So they're very critical to read because sometimes they actually model shock as opposed to the bulk of the CME. And then you get all sorts of crazy data like KP8, and you get excited. And that is when they model shock, it's modeling for solar energetic particles, not for CME itself. Uh, So
Right.
I've been burned more than once on this one. So I don't look at the scoreboard for M2M models and M2M analysis. I go to Donkey. So they're also looking at so let's go to what's been actually the final analysis of the CME. You get the CME description, you get some characteristics, and you get their actual model itself. So they're using WSA and Lil, and Cone, and they included both CMEs in this analysis. You get the arrival time, which is shock arrival time, and looks like they're favoring the 19th. So it's
Oh, wow. Yeah.
according to them, arrival is early, but remember it's plus minus 7 hours, which is kind of interesting. This is the KP index that they're forecasting. So it's not guaranteed KP. It's sort of this could happen if the CME
Yeah.
actually comes and has the flux rope of favorable orientation. But it almost never happens as predicted. So don't put a lot of faith in that KP. It's possible, but not a guarantee.
Right.
So let's look at one of the animations for this. So this was actually analyzed and predicted to be a nearly direct hit for us, which is what we like. I don't like the side swipes, but this is
Yeah.
what we're getting, and that's kind of the timing of it. It's going to hit a lot of things in its way, which is fine. We don't care about that. That's important for M2M, not as important for Aurora chasing.
Yeah.
Other things in the model that I really like is this KP timeline. So it kind of tells you how the events could happen, and this is all based on that one type of run with a lot of input from the forecaster. So it actually is forecaster job to say whether or not the model is giving the output that would be consistent with sort of an eyeball. So sometimes we have to kind of decide that, no, this is not how it's working. At least that's how it works for SWIPSI. They look at the result and basically say, yeah, that looks about right, we're going to post it, or no, that is not exactly right, let's run it again and change a few parameters. But again, this is the prediction, so it's a little bit, it's favoring earlier arrival compared to the SWIPSI model. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
We can also take a look at Hoxt forecasts. So Hoxt is another type of the solar wind propagation model. It actually runs it in two-dimensional space as opposed to the three-dimensional space. So you don't get that beautiful animation with front that's going in all possible directions. You basically get a single animation. But the majority of data you want is actually in the plots. So this is the typical appearance of the Hux model. You get the CME map where the CME sort of landed at the what's called inner boundary. So that's about 21 solar radii away from the sun. And that's the time where you don't see a whole lot of interactions from CME and the solar wind and the corona. The CMEs at this point pretty much fly straight in one direction without any interactions. You get the predicted times, and they run this model 500 times. So that's ambient plus CME. That's 500 runs. And all of that is plotted in the distribution. So it's a sort of a probability map. So this is, they use Discover, and they really shouldn't, but that's
Right.
the point. Discover often gives you very unreliable data, and you can see it all over the map here. Sometimes it kind of lines up with what Hux could have was predicting. Sometimes it doesn't. They do have a median, and that's a median for all the ensemble members for all the runs. When it falls within 36%, so it's very, very tight and very close to the median, this is where it's going to be. And then they do the same for 80% and 90% agreement. So you end up with this map. And actually, this is not bad, relatively speaking, because there is probably some interaction, CME to CME, which is why you see the double hump in speed. But that's not too bad. And the arrival is favoring a little bit later on the 20th, at least for the median. But you see the spread really well. You see it anywhere from arrival on the 19th to arrival kind of later toward the 21st.
Okay. Yep.
That's the map you get. And this is also helpful because out of those 500 runs, you see what percent of them actually landed on Earth. So the higher percent, the greater the chance that CME will actually come. And you really want it to be that 99.4%. This is as good as 100% you can get. So there is a chance that it can stray off course, but it's very small.
Yeah, like at least that one, there is something coming. I mean, it's pretty
Everything
good.
else, yeah, everything else is kind of low probability, 24%. Well, it could happen.
Yeah.
1.6%, it's pretty much certainty that it's
Yeah.
going to fly a different direction. It still could come because, again, this is all model data. This is our best prediction of how things will develop. It's never a guarantee. But the truth is, we'll know when it hits L1.
That's
Before
right.
that, it's all modeling, and we really don't know how it's going to go. But once it hits L1, once it hits the ACE or Discover, then we know for sure.
Yeah. It's just cool to have all these different tools, and then you can compare them and kind of come up to your own with your own, you know, should I go out for this or not? So, but it's fun. It's fun. So,
It is a lot of fun. And then you have to look at other factors. You have to look at what the moon's going to be doing.
oh yeah, yeah, I
What are
guess
we
we can
going
talk
to do?
about that because it's going to be what, 99% on Saturday.
That's pretty much full moon. So
Yeah.
we're getting very washed out Aurora. And last night there was Aurora, and unfortunately it was sort of that technical Aurora. So it did happen, but it
Yeah.
didn't look great on pictures. So
Right.
technically, yes, there is Aurora, but would you show that picture? Would you send that picture somewhere other than basically Aurora chasing circles? Probably not.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
beach. So
Yeah, our full moon, our friend the full moon, but it's okay. It's all right.
okay, we could do
That,
virtual chase.
yeah.
One other thing that sometimes confuses people is once shock hits L1, we have a lot more than 1 hour to get to location. Usually, depending on propagation speed, depending how fast it's coming, that's you can predict its time to Earth, but it really takes some time to build up a substorm. It really
Mm.
takes some time for magnetosphere to respond. So you probably have a good 2 hours before something interesting happens, and that gives you a lot more time and probably greater radius to drive to a location
Yeah.
than usual. Oh yeah, that's your heads up. That's your 1 hour. Get there now, or you're gonna miss the show. You
Yeah.
won't. It takes
Go,
longer.
better go speed. I mean, like for people like me though, it's still hard because I usually have to go 4+ hours to get somewhere halfway decent. But it's okay. Like, I mean that's mostly why I tried to, well, other than this being fascinating, but it helps to try to understand this stuff because I have to travel so much further.
Mhm.
So it to kind of be able to get ahead of it's a little bit helpful, even though as we talked about, it's modeling, it's predictions, it is what it is, but at least we have something. I mean, what was it? Not even, I don't even think a decade ago half of this stuff was really accessible like it is now. With having all the apps and like, to get like the Space Weather Live, like being able to look at something on your phone that's not a website, it's kind of nice. So I will say that that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And I really, this is where the Glendale app really makes a huge
Mhm.
difference. It does have a very nice dashboard, so you can follow the solar wind data that's actually relevant. But it tracks what the magnetosphere is doing. It actually tracks what the storms are doing, what Aurora is doing. So that's a really nice tool to have. Space Weather Live, still runs on Ovation, which is kind of my issue with it.
Yeah.
Ovation works when it's very steady convection. Then you can predict where Aurora is going to be, but that's not how things work in reality. It's
Yeah.
very explosive. It builds and then it creates that explosion of color. And unfortunately, this is where Ovation just can't predict it.
Yeah, it just it doesn't pick up those little nuances.
Mhm.
Maybe someday it will, but for now, no.
Nope. Go with the Glendale app.
Yeah, the Glendale app is a good app. I really do like it.
Mhm.
And Andy's done a great job with it. Like he's another one that if you know, as like a citizen scientist, it's just like it blows me away that somebody can put all this together as well as code it. It's because that's two different fields, completely different fields. And yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. I know I couldn't do it. I could never
Oh,
do anything like that. Oh, look who joined the party. It's Sankelp.
yay!
Let's see if he'll come on here.
Hello.
Hi. You there?
Yay! Hi.
Hey, hi. Where's my mic? Damn it.
Yeah,
We
you
could hear
might.
you.
Where's my camera? Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll.
I mean, we could hear you.
All right.
That's the grand entrance of Sankelp.
I'm random. Like random numbers.
That's all right. We were just discussing the CMEs that were incoming and that fun stuff. And so we got through the models. Um, if you have anything to add, you're more welcome to add to it or just say hi or whatever you want.
So
It's
is
a free for all this afternoon.
yeah.
Pretty much.
It's like for 20 minutes my Zoom was updating and it crashed and
Oh no.
Oh, so that's what happened. Okay, I see.
yeah, and then because it was I'm on my PC's on my work VPN, so it initially wouldn't allow.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
So I was going all the way to circles and now finally I was
Now finally 23 minutes later, Zoom's working.
yeah, it's like those like CME passed by and I'm right here with my camera with KP4. That's what I am right now, like a KP4 person.
That's better than when you were at KP8.
Yeah, yeah, it's like the show happened and I'm here 20 minutes past.
Ah, that's a good reference. So yeah, we could circle back to how you should use the Glendale app for that, so you don't show up late.
exactly. Don't go with KP8 when it happened 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I guess the one what we could say like because people will talk about it all the time. They're like, well, I just use the KP and I've been able to see it. But I mean, when you get to those big events where they span hours and hours and hours, yeah, sure, you'll see it. But did you see the really good part of it?
Mhm.
Maybe not.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like luckily for a lot of people, when we have big events with that high of a KP, well, there are a few exceptions, but it's going to continue for a few hours.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, any app when we have G5, any app will do the job because it's just so big, no matter where you at, you're going to see something.
Right. Yeah.
But when it's more nuanced, when you really want to see good stuff, when you want to see that explosion of color, when you want to see dynamic aurora, you really have to catch the substorm. And good luck chasing that KP2 aurora, which could be a substorm or could be that steady magnetospheric convection. And I swear the best description I've seen is the featureless diffuse arc.
Yes, because that's what
Couldn't
it
agree.
is. It's
Yeah.
just a glow. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Next.
Yeah.
We're all kind of snobs now because we saw I mean we were all there for the May 10th thing. So it's
Yep.
just I mean I still like a good G geomagnetic storm. So anything above like a G1, you can get some really cool stuff out of that. But yeah, like it helps just being able to chase the substorms part of it to get the really good stuff. Even the G2 stuff has been like photographically, it's really, really nice. But I don't know. That May 10th was definitely a bar setter for a
Yeah,
lot of
I'm
people.
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
when the
so
currents
glad
got pushed so far, I mean, the substorms were basically sitting
Yeah.
in the southern Minnesota.
Yeah.
We're gonna have good visibility. I think we were actually way too far north.
Yeah. I was joking with Sankelp on the way up. I was like, when especially when Christian posted his picture from Ohio, I I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, we might be going too far north.
we went overboard north, and
Yeah, I was like, oh no, oh no.
it's like, oh shoot, it's another 6.5 hour drives back. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I was like, oh man. It was fun to see because like that was our first G5 event.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed watching it towards the south, towards the
Yeah, it was
southern.
like
Yep, yep,
everything was to the south. It was just
yep.
With this, I see that I know you're talking about the G2, and now they're saying the shock coming in might give G2, G3, but then again, it's that almost full moon.
yeah, and I think we were just talking about that because of the two CMEs possibly merging, or they don't really merge, but you know what I mean.
Interact. Yeah.
Interact. Because like
Yeah.
you gotta be careful of that wording though, because magnetic fields can't do that. So it's like
Mhm.
they interact.
And
So
then
I think that
meanwhile,
that's I believe that's where that's coming from.
I don't know how much interaction the coronal hole, the winds from the coronal hole will have on these two CMEs.
Oh, that is a good, yeah, that is a good point. That's even
It's
harder to model
right
on the
at
two
that
Yes.
same
CMEs
time.
and a coronal hole, and that coronal hole actually deflecting at least one CME. That's 1.9 ampere CME clearly got deflected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will be interesting because it well, I guess we'll find out. Because you're right, they don't really have there's no real good way to handle that type of interaction.
Yeah.
So maybe one day we'll get there.
I think that might be the reason why Hux has so much uncertainty about the arrival of the high-speed stream and the two CMEs.
Yeah.
That's why it's like this, the velocities are all over the place, the timing of arrival is all over the place, because probably that
Yeah.
high-speed stream in a way.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So we'll see. But you gotta watch out for that moon. So does that mean that, like for me and Sandkel being down in Chicago, yeah, we won't be chasing this. I don't know, he might. I don't plan on it. I plan on virtually chasing it.
I might, I don't know if that's, we went to that November storm G3 and barely, other than those initial reds, we could see nothing.
I know it's just hard with the moon being so bright.
Yeah.
Especially, down in these mid latitudes, it just makes such a big difference. Like being up in the Arctic, it doesn't really matter. Actually, I found that the full moon auroras up in Fairbanks was quite pretty. Because you get the blue sky with the green. Um, but that's up in the Arctic. Down here, it just
Right.
washes it out. It washes it away. So, our friend the moon.
Oh, we'll do a virtual chase.
Yeah, we'll do virtual chase. I mean, maybe we'll do a live stream or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how we feel on Saturday. It's a
Yeah,
Saturday. 20th is Saturday, right?
but they should come Friday night. Let's see. What is
Yeah,
it?
Those
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, those are such long events, and when the shock comes in, BZ is going to be all over the place. So it's
Yeah.
going to be literally commenting for several minutes of nothing, like, oh, it's up, oh, it's down. So I don't know about live streams.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
Clear.
All right.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, we can call this a meeting. Sorry, Sandkelp, that you had Zoom issues,
Oh
but
no, no, I'm fine. At least I
yeah.
came in, not like, hey, where's everybody?
That was pretty funny though. I mean, I just like how it's like, oh, he's entered the chat. He's here.
I was, and then Zoom was updating because I haven't updated it like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
That,
Yeah, it'll do that. So it's all good. But anyway, we'll do this more often with these events as they roll, and I think they're kind of fun. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
know that we had one, I don't know, last year when Christian, you, me, we three joined in and we were
Yeah.
analyzing that CME, the G4 CME.
Oh, oh, the one that never happened.
No, the April one, the April one, we analyzed it 2 days before it
Oh
hit.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So that yeah, it was just a
Christian,
fun little Zoom call. So we can do more
yeah,
of this. I like them.
I like this.
All right. Well, on that note, I will tell everybody bye on YouTube, but before I let you guys go, so I'll end the live stream. But if anybody watching, have fun out there chasing the full moon. I mean, Aurora.
Oh,
Yeah, it will do this again. So let me
Yeah,
get it
that was
up.
fun.